Hello, grade 3 students. How are you? So today we will have our last subtopic. What are the effects of friction? We will discuss your textbook starting on page 139 until 147. Then later you will answer your activity book on pages 81 to 85. But I'm going to explain it later here in this video so that you will know what to do. And please submit again the photos of your answers to your homeroom teacher or to me in WhatsApp. Then on first week of June, we will have a review. I will give you a reviewer because on second week of June, we will have a top test. Then after that, it will be your final exam. Did I make everything clear? If yes, let's start our lesson now. So kindly get your textbook and join me in our discussion. So on page 139, we are going to learn about friction. So what is friction? Friction is a type of force. There are many different types of forces, but you will learn them on higher grade level. So for the meantime, you are grade 3 in your level. We're just going to talk about one type of force, and that is friction. So according to your book, friction is the force which opposes or goes against motion when two surfaces are in contact. So we have an example here. There is a coin and a table with a smooth surface. So when we push the coin, it will start to slide. So there is a force acts between the coin and the surface of the table. Then eventually, it makes the coin slow down and stop. This is friction. That force is friction. So the direction of the friction is going to the left. Okay. So friction acts in the opposite direction of the coin's movement. So this is applicable to anything, to any material. When you try to start an object and then later you will see that it will slow down and stop because of the friction between the material and then the surface. That is the reason why a moving object automatically slow down and stop because of the friction. So later we're going to have an example of that in your activity book. So page 140, there is a question here. So will the coin slide the same distance if you use the same amount of force to push it across a rough carpet? So when you use a rough carpet, it means there are more friction on that. So once you try to slide a coin on a rough carpet, it will have a short distance compared to a smooth surface. On a smooth surface, when you slide the coin, it will have a longer distance because it is smooth. Compared to a rough carpet, there are more friction on that. So will the friction be smaller, greater, or the same? So the answer for that, the friction is greater on a rough surface or on a rough carpet. So how do different types of surfaces affect how much friction there is? So we will find it out later in our activity book. Friction depends on the type of surface something is in contact with. It is usually greater when the thing is moving on a rough surface than a smooth surface. So if the surface is smooth, the distance will be longer for an object to move. But if the surface is rough, the object will have a short distance to move because of the friction. So this one, try this. You can do it at home. Get a two book and try to put them together. Insert the pages of one book between the pages of another book. And then try to pull the books apart. And then try to ask yourself, are you able to remove them? So, is it difficult to pull the books apart? So, obviously, if we're going to look at it, it's very hard to uh, pull them apart. But you can still try it at home. Okay. So how can friction be useful in our daily lives? So friction can be useful in so many things by holding and gripping things. So for example, using a pencil and tying a shoelace. So friction between surfaces enables us to grip or hold onto things. So for example, yeah, holding a pencil. If there's no friction, it will easily slip away on our hands. But because of friction, we can hold things and grip many things. Okay? So friction between the ground and the soles of our shoes helps our shoes grip the ground. This prevents us from slipping when we walk. And it's easy to slip on smooth surfaces, especially like ice. This is because there is a little friction between smooth surfaces and the soles of our shoes. So we really need friction, especially on our shoe wears, so that once we walk on a slippery ground, we will not be easily slip or fall on the ground. That's why we really need friction to stay on the ground. So friction helps to slow down or to stop moving things. So for example, inside a car, friction between the brakes and the wheels of a moving car helps the car to slow down and stop. So if the car doesn't have like this, it will be dangerous because it will just continually go straight forward. It will not stop. Okay, so a moving car will slow down when its driver applies the brakes. So friction between moving surfaces produces heat. When we rub our hands together like this, friction between our hands helps to warm us. And also friction between moving pieces of wood help to start a fire. So people in the forest, they use two pieces of wood to start a fire because of friction. How is friction useful when we ride a bicycle? So obviously the wheels of a bicycle is also rough so that it will not easily slip away to the ground. And also it uses brake also to stop and to slow down. So how can friction be a problem in our daily lives? Friction can cause wear and tear. It can damage our things. For example, an eraser, if we use this for a long time, it will wear off and become smaller. and that is a problem because we need to buy a new one. Friction causes the soles of our shoes to wear out. If the soles of shoes are worn out, they cannot grip the ground well. So as you can see on your book, there are two pairs of shoes. First is shoes with new soles, and then the second pair of shoes with worn out soles. So we will slip easily if we wear shoes with worn out soles, especially if the ground is wet. Sometimes friction slows things down even when we do not want it to. Friction between train wheels and train tracks slows down trains. If the friction between the train wheels and train tracks is reduced, trains will move faster. So if the train wheels and train tracks are already old, and also because of the friction, the train will move very slowly. So they need to be clean. So the train will move faster. So friction can produce heat that is not useful. For example, the moving parts of machine can become too hot and can cause damage on the machine. So this is a spinning grinder, and then this is a piece of metal. Friction between the piece of metal and the spinning grinder produces so much heat that can form sparks. These are the sparks. So it is dangerous for the eyes of the worker. So they need to be careful in this kind of work. What can we do to reduce friction? We can reduce the unwanted effects of friction by adding lubricants to moving parts. So example of lubricants are oil and wax. Another way is to use rollers or wheels. So look at this image. So they are applying oil to bicycle chains to reduce friction and make the pedaling smooth. And then here the wheels on roller blades reduces friction and allows us to go faster. So oil, wax, lubricants, and wheels can reduce friction. So there are also different examples of friction. So here, when something moves through air, there is friction between its surface and the air. This friction is called air resistance. So there is also friction in the air. And also, there is also friction in the water. When something moves through water, there is friction between its surface and the water. This friction is called water resistance. That's why we can feel air resistance when we run against wind. And also, if you try to row a boat, it requires a lot of effort because of water resistance. So what do we have learned in this lesson? First, friction is the force that opposes motion when two surfaces are in contact. The type of surface affects how much friction there is. Friction is usually greater when something moves on a rough surface than on a smooth surface. Friction can be useful in daily life. So examples of this are it enables us to hold onto things and walk without slipping. It enables us to slow down and stop moving vehicles. It enables us to produce heat to keep warm or to start a fire. So there is also disadvantages. Friction can be a problem in our daily life. For example, it causes wear and tear. It damages our things. It causes things to slow down when we want to make it fast. It causes unwanted heat to be produced. So like the example a while ago, the sparks, those are dangerous if they went into your eyes. We can reduce friction by using lubricants and rollers or wheels. So let's try to answer this exercise. Look at this picture. Dina's hands are wet in soapy water. So letter A, she finds it difficult to open the jar of jam. Why? Because her hands are wet and it has soap also. That's why it becomes slippery and there is less friction on that. So suggest one thing she can do to open the jar easily. First, she needs to dry her hands so that she can grip it properly and friction will help her to open the jar. Next, second, Grace used a force meter to pull a block across a carpet. She found that she needed 2 Newton of force to make the block start moving. So let's answer this. Letter A. The block did not move when she pulled it with a force of less than Newton. Why? Because we need at least 2 Newton to move the block on a rough surface. So if that is less than, that is not enough. So she repeated her experiment on a smooth floor. What's the force needed to make the block start moving? More or less than 2 Newton. So if she used a smooth surface, obviously she needs less Newton or less force to move it because there is less friction. Give 3 examples in real life for the following uses of friction. So we can use friction for slowing or to stop a moving object. It also help us to hold and grip things. And friction can help us to feel warm and can start a fire. So what are the problems caused by friction? Friction can cause wear and tear. So it can also damages things and it can slow things from moving when we don't want to move it in a slow manner. And also it can causes unwanted heat like sparks. State 2 ways to reduce friction. So we can use lubricants or we can use rollers or wheels. Okay, so let's move on now to your activity book. So on page 81, worksheet number 4, does the type of surface affect friction? So follow these steps. So first, place a wooden block on a ceramic tile. Second, use a force meter to pull the wooden block. Then third, take the reading on the force meter when the wooden block starts to move. Record your reading in the table on the next page. Repeat steps 2 and 3 to obtain a second reading. Record your reading in the table. So first of all, I don't have a wooden block. So later, I'm just going to use a shoebox. Okay, so no need to do this at home because most of you doesn't have force meter. So like before, just copy whatever the results that I will get. So just focus on the demonstration that I will do later. So step 6, carry out steps 1 to 5 to pull the wooden block or the shoebox that I'm going to use over plastic sheet, sandpaper, and towel. So as you can see here, I removed sandpaper in the table because I don't have sandpaper. So I'm just going to use ceramic tile, plastic sheet, and towel. So only these three surfaces. So after that, after I show the demonstration, write all the results here and then answer the following question. What is the change in this test? What are the things that we change? And then number 9, what is kept the same to ensure that the test is fair? So what is the thing that same on each situation? And then number 10, 11, and 12. So answer this following on your own words. Okay. Then on worksheet number 5, this one is easy. Just complete the table. So look at each activity and then answer the following question. Is friction useful or not useful in this situation? Do we need friction in this activity? Yes or no? Second, do we need friction in this kind of activity, gliding smoothly and quickly on ice with skates? Yes or no? And then once you write yes or no, write your reason. Why? Why do we need friction on this activity? Why we don't need friction in this kind of activity? Is that clear? Same thing on page 85. Is friction useful or not useful? Holding a glass, going down a slide quickly, and striking a match. And then write all your reasons. Explain it. Is that clear? So let's move on now to our demonstration for worksheet number 4. Okay, so this is the shoebox that we're going to use in different surfaces. Okay, so first is ceramic tile. So I'm now going to pull the force meter. So here we need 1.5 Newton. So let's try it again for the second reading. So here it is still 1.5 Newton. That is for ceramic tile. Next. Okay, next on a plastic sheet. So for this one, we use 2 Newton. For the second reading, let's do it again. So for this one is 2 Newton also. Okay, last on a towel surface. So as we can see, we have 2.5 Newton. So let's do it for the second time. So here we have 2.8 Newton. So that is the end of our video lesson. So I hope that you understand everything, and if you have some questions, just message me in WhatsApp. That's all. Bye.